The Gaza Health Ministry reports that since October 7th, more than 42,334 Palestinians have been killed, including nearly 16,500 children. Updated figures also show that over 96,359 people have been injured in Gaza alone, with more than 10,000 missing under the rubble. Meanwhile, in the West Bank, updated figures show that at least 719 people, including around 160 children, have been killed, with more than 5,700 people injured. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden says that the United States are discussing the possibility of targeting Iranian oil tankers in comments that quickly sent oil prices spiking.
Would you support Israel striking Iran's oil facilities, sir?
We're in discussion of that. I think that would be a little... Anyway.
While the world waits in trepidation to see how ferocious Israel's response to the Iranian missile attack on its air bases earlier this week will be, the Israeli war on other fronts continues. Central Beirut was hit by an airstrike on a medical facility. Israel suffered its first casualties in its invasion of southern Lebanon, and fighting continued in Gaza. Yemen's Houthis say that they have carried out a drone attack on Tel Aviv, claiming that drones reached their targets without being shot down. President Biden, speaking at the Andrews Air Force Base, while unstinting in his general support for Israel, refused to endorse an attack on Iran's nuclear facilities.
An attack on Iran's nuclear sites by Israel?
The answer is no. I think there's things... We'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do, but all seven of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in proportion.
Sir, can I ask you?
These facilities are thought to be secure from attack by Israel without US aid. As conflicts spread in the Middle East nearly a year since the October 7th attack by Hamas on Israel, human rights lawyer and executive director of the Tahrir Institute for Middle East Policy, May El-Sadani, says that the United States' role has been extremely harmful to the region.
Unfortunately, the US role in Gaza and now Lebanon has one that has not been productive. In fact, in many times it's been extremely harmful. In other times, the US has been directly complicit in the violations that we're seeing taking place over the last almost year now. When we think about the US role, it's a role that has involved public statements that have not sufficiently or at times ever centered the value of civilian life. It's a matter of continued arms transfers to Israel without any conditions. It's a matter of giving a green light to a escalatory policy by Israel that keeps moving the goalposts. The fact that we're giving green light to one of our closest allies to continue targeting civilian life in a manner that violates international law and all really international standards, that sends a message to everyone watching, friends and foes alike, that the US doesn't stand for equal application of international human rights principles. It deprives us of our ability to be effective in other contexts outside of the region too. It raises an issue of double standards. It deprives the US of the ability to be an honest broker, to constantly move the red lines, to not be willing to call out behavior and abuses that violate even what we say we hold true, what values are important to us as Americans. And so it positions us in this place where we're viewed as biased and thus unable to equally bring people together to the negotiating table. One key issue has been this policy or an assumption that in order to de-escalate, we need to allow Israel to escalate. That's a strategy that we know is not a successful one. History has shown us that it's destabilized the region. It's made people feel less safe from Israel to Lebanon and beyond. This assumption that the only way to reshape the Middle East is by allowing Israel to cross one red line after the next, to target innocent civilian lives, that's a deeply problematic assumption, and it's incorrect. It deprives the people from and in the MENA region of agency, it is frankly racist in some regards. It thinks that the only way for the region to reach democracy or stability is via violent means. And it goes at the very odds of what the people of the region stand for.
Houthi rebels from the Yemen-based Ansar Allah movement have conducted drone strikes targeting Tel Aviv, according to the movement's military spokesman, Yahya Saria. He stated that Yemen's air forces used Jaffa drones to attack a crucial facility in Tel Aviv, claiming that Israeli air defenses failed to intercept the drones, which successfully hit their targets, News.az reports, citing Al Masira TV channel. Earlier, the Israeli army mentioned that it had intercepted a suspicious target in a coastal area of central Israel. Following the recent escalation of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in Gaza, the Ansar Allah movement declared its intention to strike Israeli territory and prevent Israeli-associated ships from passing through the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandab Strait until military operations in the Palestinian enclave ceased. The Houthis have been involved in attacks on numerous civilian vessels in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden since last November. In response to these developments, US authorities have announced the formation of an international coalition and the launch of Operation Prosperity Guardian to ensure freedom of navigation and protect ships in the Red Sea. Subsequently, the US and UK have initiated regular strikes on Houthi military facilities in Yemen.
James Cleverly, one of the 4 leading Tories left in the race to become the new leader, told the party conference that they had to become more normal. Whether that's an attainable goal under any of the new possible leaders is open to doubt. Cleverly's competitors, Tom Tugendhat, Robert Jenrick and Kemi Badenoch, all addressed the party faithful at the first conference since they were humiliated at the general election by a Labour landslide victory. In just the 4 days of conference in Birmingham and in the full glare of the media, the contenders arguably did themselves more harm than good. Kemi Badenoch, the last Home Secretary, managed to embroil herself in a row about a proposal to abolish maternity pay, a policy she had to withdraw within 24 hours. But Badenoch also praised Israel's pager attack in Lebanon and implied that Muslim culture was a threat to British values. Robert Jenrick, probably the front-runner in the Tory leadership race, proposed that the Star of David should be displayed at all border entry points into the UK. He sported a Hamas are terrorists sweatshirt at conference and horrified even natural Tory supporters by claiming that British special forces are killing rather than capturing prisoners because of the European Court of Human Rights rules. He went on to defend classroom displays of cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. Tom Tugendhat stressed his past in the military, talking up military leadership skills in Afghanistan and Iraq. The Tory party conference seems to have had little space for the one-nation conservatism that has been the dominant characteristic of the Tory party for much of its post-war history. Boris Johnson's Brexit coup in the Tory party, which sidelined more moderate Tories and delivered the party to its extreme right, seems to have fundamentally altered the direction of the party. This leaves the Tories ideologically closer to Nigel Farage than to the mainstream views of the British public. Indeed, some delegates had been to the Reform UK conference before they came to the Tory conference and found the Farage event more to their liking.
It's a little downbeat, I feel. I feel it's a series of apologies. It feels to me like a mass therapy session. It's a little bit like having counselling after you've made the most horrific mistakes. And we're all getting together and saying, mea culpa, we're terrible, terrible, terrible. It's not uplifting. I don't find it uplifting. Curiously enough, I hope I can say this, I went to the Reform conference last weekend out of curiosity, really. And the contrast in mood is substantial. The mood there was upbeat, confident, courageous. Here it feels it lacks those particular qualities.
Conservative MPs will vote next week to determine the final 2 candidates. Party members will then select the winner in a ballot that closes at the end of October.
On October the 2nd, the Third World March for Peace and Non-Violence departed from San Jose, Costa Rica, marking the International Day of Non-Violence. The march began its journey around the world and will return to San Jose on January the 5th, 2025. Costa Rica was selected as the starting and finishing point due to its unique status as a nation without a military, a powerful symbol in a world increasingly marked by conflict and war. In San Jose, the event featured a range of activities starting at the university, including speeches from public authorities, university representatives, and members of the march's base team. There was also an ethical commitment ceremony, and students created a human symbol of non-violence. A procession through the streets of San Jose followed, with the base team and local citizens marching together. At the same time, the march commenced in various parts of the world, coinciding with global celebrations of Gandhi's birthday, recognized by the UN in 2007 as the World Day of Non-Violence. Across the globe, schools and communities held activities including the creation of human symbols of peace in public squares. These global efforts emphasize the importance of peace and non-violence in addressing today's challenges.
Y aquí están delegaciones de Italia, de Guadalupe, de Chile, de varios países que están apoyando la tercera marcha mundial por la paz y la no violencia. Esto no es político, esto es simplemente para hacer conciencia en la gente y decirles que habemos personas que estamos luchando por esta causa, ¿no? Y que si no cambiamos nosotros en el interior nuestro, no podemos cambiar el entorno.
Los dirigentes que tienen en este momento, que nos tienen al planeta sumido en guerras, son muy pocos comparados con la cantidad de personas, activistas, instituciones que creemos en la paz y que, o sea, somos muchos más los que queremos la paz. Entonces lo único que necesitamos es unirnos y pues empezar a hacer movimientos como estos para demostrar nuestro malestar con la guerra y que de una vez por todas.
The dockworker strike is sending tremors through the US economy as 36 ports from Maine to Texas grind to a halt, the first major strike by the ILA since 1977. The International Longshoremen's Association is locked in a standoff with the US Maritime Alliance, disrupting half of the country's ocean shipping and choking the flow of goods that range from automobiles to food supplies. This walkout threatens to cost the American economy up to $5 billion a day, with 38 container ships already stuck in limbo. The consequences could be profound, especially for inflation and supply chains, as businesses brace for impact. Due to this, President Biden's administration has been forced to put pressure onto employers and raise their offer. However, the negotiations remain at an impasse. The ILA is pushing for higher wages and protections against automation, demanding a $5 per hour raise each year over 6 years and a halt to port automation projects. As the strike continues, the effects are beginning to ripple through the economy. Retailers, especially those preparing for the crucial holiday season, have implemented backup plans, though the longer the strike lasts, the greater the potential disruptions to both inventory and consumer spending. Moreover, the strike could complicate the Federal Reserve's fight against inflation. With prices for durable goods playing a key role in keeping inflation down, a prolonged halt in shipping could reverse those trends. If goods become scarcer, prices could spike. As America watches its ports stand still, the broader question remains: can a deal be reached that satisfies both labor and industry without tipping the economy into further instability?
We're striking because these companies are making a lot of money. We have not been given fair raises in the past. We work in hard conditions. You know, we're out there in the rain, we're out there in the heat. 7 days a week, we're here on call. So
nice health plan. I want us to be okay. The world is going up. Everything in the stores is going up. Everything is automation. Like you might as well say like Easy Pass took people jobs. Walmart took people's jobs. You got to self-checkout. I don't want that for us here.
Automation doesn't feed families. Automation doesn't pay taxes. These are the things our members make their livelihood off there. So we need to make sure we're protected in our jobs. I mean, so we know that there's automated terminals like in Rotterdam and places like that where people sit behind computers and running machines. We don't want that here. This is our livelihood and we're going to fight for it.
As the world grapples with escalating wars and conflicts, the Norwegian Nobel Committee is confronting an unprecedented challenge. Is there a deserving candidate for the 2024 Nobel Peace Prize? With conflicts multiplying, the director of the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, Dan Smith, has raised a provocative question. Should the Nobel Peace Prize be awarded at all this year? Speaking on the worsening global landscape, Smith emphasized the gravity of today's crises and suggested that perhaps the Nobel Peace Prize Committee could send a powerful message by withholding the prize this year, signaling the urgent need for global leaders to take more decisive action toward peace.
When you look at world politics now, and you look at Ukraine and Gaza and now Lebanon and Sudan, where there's going to be the worst war-created famine for 40 years, and you look at more than 50 other countries where armed conflicts are going on, and you see the way in which peace and achieving peace seems to be slipping off the agenda, then I wonder whether this isn't the time for the Nobel Peace Prize Committee to say this year there's no award. Maybe this is the time to say, yes, many people are working very hard, but it's not getting there, and we need more people and world leaders to wake up and to realize that we are in an extremely dangerous situation.
Olav Nosh-Tutt, director of the Norwegian Nobel Institute, also acknowledged the difficulty of selecting a laureate in such perilous times.
It's hard to be an optimist when you look around in the world today, and the forces of peace do not seem to be on the offensive. But I will also say, when we look through the nominations, there are definitely people, organizations who are doing great jobs in favor of the values we believe in and in favor of peace. So I'm confident there will be a worthy candidate for the Peace Prize this year as well.
The committee's decision comes at a time when peace seems more elusive than ever, and the possibility of not awarding the prize raises important questions about its role. While the prize traditionally celebrates progress, Smith's comments suggest that this year could be a moment for reflection rather than celebration.
Kazakhstan faces a pivotal decision as citizens will vote in a national referendum on whether to build the country's first nuclear power plant. While Kazakhstan has tried in the past to integrate nuclear power into its energy mix, this time the government seems determined to move forward. The referendum brings with it heated debates on the country's energy future, balancing the urgent need for energy security, Kazakhstan's geopolitical position, and the delicate relationship between the government and its citizens. The government strongly supports nuclear power, citing its potential to strengthen energy security, reduce reliance on aging thermal plants, and help Kazakhstan reach decarbonisation goals. Kazakhstan's energy deficit is pressing. In 2023, the country imported 14% of its electricity, a significant increase from previous years and mostly from Russia. Proponents of nuclear energy argue that it will not only help meet future electricity demands, but will also boost the country's nuclear technology sector and reduce reliance on external sources, given Kazakhstan's significant uranium reserves and strong nuclear industry. However, opponents raise concerns about the environmental and long-term consequences.
Я за то, чтобы на территории Казахстана была станция. Мне все равно где, но чтобы была, потому что, Казахстану нужна она. Как сейчас у нас идет тенденция, населения увеличивается, правильно? Как Такаев сказал, что надо наращивать производство, восстанавливать все. Если мы сейчас этим займемся, у нас просто-напросто не хватит электроэнергии. Мы заезжали в район.
По поводу строительства АЭС мы за, потому что мы ждем, что наш поселок оживет, что здесь будет много всего, и работа будет, и для детей что-то будет. Поэтому мы не против.
Хотела АЭС, а сейчас я не хочу АЭС, вообще-то не хочу. Озеро мы теряем, раз, и рыбу же мы потеряем. Сейчас в основном люди здесь живут, рыбачат же, с рыбалкой же они живут же, в основном люди. Много вообще-то в основном. Работа есть у нас, но все равно рыбачат люди. плюс работает и плюс рыбачит. Вот это мы теряем. Я не хочу. АЭС-то вообще я не хочу. Я лично сама против АЭС.
Hundreds of tourists, photographers and astronomy enthusiasts gathered yesterday at the southern tip of South America in Puerto San Julián, Argentina's Patagonia, to witness a rare ring of fire solar eclipse.
Las nubes hicieron lo suyo, nos taparon, pero en cierta forma también permitieron que actúen de filtro las nubes y pudimos observar buena parte del eclipse, de la totalidad del eclipse, pudimos observarlo ya con filtro de nubes, entonces también a simple vista lo pudimos apreciar.
The breathtaking spectacle, also visible from Chile's Easter Island, occurred as the moon passed between the sun and Earth while at its farthest point from our planet. Because of this distance, the moon appeared smaller than the sun, creating a striking visual effect where the sun was not completely covered, leaving a glowing ring of fire in the sky. This celestial spectacle captivated onlookers, making a memorable moment for sky watchers around the world.
Me emocioné un montón, es muy lindo. Es un poco también todo lo que uno viene pasando para llegar acá. Nosotros estamos en Argentina y llegar a estos momentos cuesta un montón.
La verdad que tuvimos la suerte de que se abrió el cielo y las nubes se hicieron también como filtro, o sea que se pudo ver casi a simple vista también y la verdad que espectacular, espectacular.